Furries are a weird sort of bunch, aren't they, folks? They're these people that are ranging from like adolescents to senior citizens, truly this sort of strange niche community that can really transcend those generational barriers, and they're all obsessed, of course, with walking, talking, humanized, anthropomorphic animals. They all have this reputation, sort of like, you don't want to bring them up. They're an elephant in the room whenever it comes to the internet, because they get into all these deviant and degenerate antics, and I mean, the stories speak for themselves. The evidence is there, the proof is in the pudding. They are definitely deviant and degenerate as far as their entire community goes. I don't think that's a controversial statement to make, even they admit it openly. Like, for example, did you know that sex at conventions, furry conventions, sexual relations here are so prominent that they actually had to start erecting HIV testing facilities inside of some of these conventions. This is real, this is true, this happens. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Now, that's not a good thing. You would figure that they would be telling a lot more people if you're gonna go here and you're gonna get into all these strange, degenerate sex parties, that you would want to wrap it before you tap it a little bit, be safe whenever you're going here and doing God knows what with as many different people as you can, but no, they just decided that it was probably a better idea to erect HIV testing facilities as opposed to trying to keep their members safe. Something else that was pretty funny involving this is that I remember hearing a story a while back of these guys that were going to these conventions, you see. They were going to these conventions that were specifically, like, they were going in with the intent of having relations with as many people as they could, just incredibly promiscuous people. I remember there were two of them, I can't recall their names at the current moment in time, but you see, this is where the issue comes in. They were both positive, they both had HIV. I think one of them might have had something worse, but they were bug spreaders, you see. Now, if you don't know what bug spreading is, it is a fetish where people get off on the idea of giving other people HIV or some other communicable disease. So what really is the big kicker here, though, was not the fact that this was happening, because this happens. The people understand that this happens. It's a thing apparently that is common enough that people can make jokes about it. But the real kicker here, the real thing that kind of caught my eye and like drew a lot of my attention to it, was there were Russians, you see, and these Russians, those Russians, they were going online on certain areas of the internet, certain Mongolian pottery forums, and they were communicating, of course, in Russian, talking about how to make devices that would go boom, and how to smuggle those into an area where both of these individuals would be to make sure that they could not spread HIV to any other people. Now, that is absolutely bonkers, I think I could call it. That is pretty balls to the wall insane. That's absolutely downright. You wouldn't think that would happen, but it's true, it happened. It's a real story. You can look it up. I mean, they're not only known for being weird people, weird, degenerate, deviant people, these furries, they're also known for making a lot of weird media, I mean, everything from the television shows that they're almost definitely involved in, because, like, you look at some of the stuff that was coming out of the 80s, you eventually start seeing, more and more, there were probably people who were proto-furries who were making all of this content. You see them making stuff from like that, and then you get into the more modern era where they're making just all this oddly specific fetish pornography, just these like full-length animations. It's absolutely strange, some of the things these people do, but then it goes even farther because they make like board games out of this stuff. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? This was part of a Kickstarter, I remember. I remember there being a video, it got shared around a lot. I remember I actually have it saved under the file name someone_made_this, and it is for a vor-related trading card game, I believe it was. And it's called Gurgle, and I'm not gonna play a lot of the video here. I'll overlap it on screen here, but as you can see, now this is a legitimate card game. People actually. Somebody made this card game, and if I'm recalling correctly, they were trying to raise funds to produce it on Kickstarter. Now, this is definitely some weird media, but a lot of other strange stuff has happened. Like, whenever you see like furries trying to get political to a degree, it's always funny. You have no idea the untold treasure trove there is of political Zootopia stuff. Have you heard about this? Yeah, so I'll just go with the two biggest examples. So first off, there is of course stuff relating to police brutality because the rabbit is a cop. So naturally, in the wake of the events of 2020, there were an awful lot of images that got shared that were downright hilarious of these things happening. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit fucked up when you think about it, but like, you know, the rabbit from Zootopia kneeling on the fox from Zootopia's neck. I mean, you can't take it seriously. They're cartoon characters, and a lot of people are fetishizing these cartoon characters. This is a little bit political, but this definitely has a strange energy to it, a strange vibe, a strange aura. I honestly don't know how to feel about it. And then there's also like the Zootopia abortion comic. This one was even funnier because it was this thing that got released, and I remember being on Twitter whenever it got released, and it was a comic purely based around the concept of, well, what happens if the two main characters from Zootopia, if the rabbit got pregnant and the rabbit wanted an abortion, but the fox did not. And it was funny because more and more there were just these strange layers. Like there was some pretty iconic imagery that came out of it, like, you know, the rabbit slapping the fox and everything. People found out that the apartment building on the front of it was the same apartment building from Seinfeld. There was a very famous edit of it where they were both arguing over whether or not they were going to go to Arby's or not. It was incredibly... The only thing I can say about it is that it was like one of those strange moments on the internet where I felt like a lot of people just came together and laughed all at once, but, you know, I digress. You know, the other thing about furries that I really would like to say is that a strange amount of them have tons of unexplainable money that they can use for commissions or whatever the hell they want, and I honestly don't know how to explain this. I've got no concrete evidence as to what any of it is, but I know that whenever you have, like, art... And whenever you have people with large sums of money that they can't explain, almost always that's a dead ringer for money laundering. This is one of the things that used to happen a lot in like the old art trade, like the physical art trade, was you'd hear a lot about like money laundering happening because people would paint pieces and then like someone would pay a ton of money for it and then they donate it to a museum so that they could like write it off on their taxes or something like that. I don't know if that's necessarily called money laundering, but it definitely sounds fraudulent to a degree. But what I'm trying to say is enough of these individuals have like buku money. Just an absurd amount of money that they spend on just insanely strange pieces or pieces of work and art that you just wouldn't expect that they would spend that much money on. It's very strange. I would definitely look into it to a degree. I know that the Dick Show had an interesting episode where they had Blacklight on. Blacklight's this guy they've had on a couple of times. He's a furry, and I definitely recommend this video because they do this game where it's kind of like The Price is Right, except it's like involves specifically commissioned work that people who are furries commissioned, and the price that these people paid for all of these pieces, it just keeps going up and up, and it just keeps getting more and more absurd. I honestly, like, I can't do it justice. I would say go watch the video yourself. All I'm trying to say is, though, the amount of money that I think goes in between people for commissions for like furry and furry adjacent stuff, I think that you could run a nation purely on those financial transactions. Like, you could create a nation whose main major export was just, like, commission work for furries. And I legitimately believe that. Not a big nation, not a thriving nation, maybe a micro nation could be ran on this. And if you were to, like, jury rig the tax codes there or whatever, the exports, I honestly don't know how any of that would work. But you could probably run a small nation on that type of stuff. Yeah, no, furries, they're definitely a weird group of people, a weird, wacky, and zany group of degenerates, but what is the point of the whole video, you know? Like, I'm not one to really make videos bashing on people. I don't really want to become one of those guys who makes videos where I just sit there and bash on entire groups. No, the whole moral of this story, the whole lesson to be learned here, the entire point of this video is that I would in a heartbeat. And I think I'm tired of pretending that I wouldn't. There is my confession for the week. You can take that to the bank. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, why not like? Why not subscribe? Hit the bell if you want. I honestly don't care if you do. Just get those numbers up, you know. If you'd like to visit my Twitter, it's twitter.com/hail_Keezer. I've been Keezer. I've never been good at outros. I'll see you next time.